Hello students, welcome to week 6 for COM 333 oral interpretation. This week we're going through some information related to performing social roles and looking at some theories that can be utilized for our critical assignment. If you look at the week 6 agenda, you can see here we're reading chapter 6. We're also watching some videos on Buber's I, Thou, I and Thou, and some ideas on Martin Buber within 10 minutes, as well as linguistic relativity. We are completing weekly review number 6 with original posts due on Friday, as well as your responses due on Sunday. And this week is the big week. We have our oral interpretation project due. So we've been working on this throughout the entire semester, and this week we're actually performing it. This performance is due no later than Friday, with your reply posts due on Sunday. So after you post it on Friday, you will be watching everybody's posts, and you will then reply to at least 2 students no later than Sunday. Remember, we're going to go through the details of how to upload your performance and such in a little bit. Weekly review number 6 asks you to post a post no less than 350 words, so it needs to be at least 350 words by Friday, looking at Goffman's ideas of impression management from the course text and explaining and defining 5 techniques of impression management and how the 5 techniques of impression management may be useful within oral interpretation performances. This weekly review is utilizing content that we already covered in week 5, so you should have a strong foundation on impression management. We lectured about it last week and read about it, and now we're doing an activity on it and carrying it over into this week, and you'll see it's still in some of the course readings for this week as well. So that's what we're doing with that. Your oral interpretation project. So we've been working on this throughout the entire semester. This is the topic you selected, the rationale you created, the outline and script you created in week 5, and now you're actually creating your 4 to 7 minute performance. You will be posting it to YouTube. An alternative to YouTube would be Vimeo. It needs to be posted to a web platform networking site for us to be able to view. It's best if somebody records you. In some of the oral interpretation project performances you've watched throughout the semester, you've seen that it's usually not somebody recording themselves from their laptop. It's usually somebody recording them. So to do that, it would probably be best to utilize at minimum your camera phone or a video recorder. If you do utilize your camera phone, make sure you hold it in landscape mode. So you will hold it horizontally, not vertically, because if you hold it vertically, it's going to crop you in a funky way when you upload it to YouTube. So if you can, have somebody record you or use some type of tripod or way to prop your camera phone to be able to record you doing the performance so we can see you clearly and you're able to get into the nature of the performance better. It's better and stronger if you can do that. It's not an actual requirement, but I'm just letting you know that your performance and presentation will come across stronger if you have someone record you. So once you've created your presentation and your performance, which I'm excited to go through and see how you all been working very hard on this, so I'm excited to go through all of yours. You'll need to post that with a 100-word reflection no later than Friday in the discussion board forum. So just give us the link to your video on YouTube or Vimeo, or give us a 100-word reflection on the process that we've been working on this entire semester, and then post that by Friday. No later than Sunday. After you've viewed everybody's, you'll pick 2 to reply to and reply to those. So remember, this whole assignment is designed to give you a chance to think critically and to critique and support arguments in the analysis of your peers and yourself and within this performance and such. So it's really, really an important part of the course. It's a pivotal moment for us in the course and looking at and really actually performing a performance on our own. So if you have any questions, I really urge you to reach out to me early on in the week, since this is due no later than Friday. This is something you will need to spend some time on, and I know you already have, but in perfecting your performance and getting that uploaded. Moving on to Buber's I, Thou is one of the theories that you can utilize for your critical assignment. If you've already gone through and selected your topic like it was required already and you decide to switch, that's fine. If not, this is just something that I wanted to highlight. So if we look at communication theory, I, Thou is found within the context of the relationship. So this means that this theory is more interpersonally related, meaning related more to interpersonal communication, and Martin Buber is one of the noted key scholars of this theory. What Buber really contends is that communication is a relationship, and all communication has a relationship with one another. He utilizes Christianity in sense and biblical perspective in saying that God can only be known by means of personal relationships with God, with other human beings, and all aspects of the natural world. So God's communication is always intensely personal and defined in a special type of relationship we utilize and we call this dialogue. So if his communication is always intensely personal and is always defined within a special type of relationship we know as dialogue, all communication has to be related to some sort of relationship with the receiver. Buber views communication in two senses. It's an I-thou or an I-it relationship. The I-thou relationship really focuses on the fact that you as a person are a whole person worthy of your own experiences, opinions, ideas, and feelings, and you must stand by what is important to you. And you also must acknowledge the full life experience of others and allow them to express what is important to them. So what he's getting at is that in the I-thou perspective of a communicative relationship, we're walking on a narrow ridge. Communication is a narrow ridge between the self and the other. So we're looking at the selfish aspects of humanity and then looking at how we communicate. And our communication is always a narrow ridge between communicating in a selfish perspective or communicating in the way for others. Instead of being more selfish and looking at, oh, I'm sorry I'm late, rather say something like, thank you for waiting for me. So we're walking that narrow ridge between self and other. I-thou also facilitates good dialogue with others and promotes a healthy environment for communicative experiences, and clearly utilizes expressing your own ideas while listening well and honoring others' ideas. So we're looking at the thou, and we're looking at the togetherness within a communicative experience and not the selfish aspects of communication. I-it really views a person as an object, something that can be labeled, manipulated, changed, and maneuvered to your own benefit. So you're looking at communication in a selfishly. You're not looking at it as this communicative experience where it's ritualistic and you can get to know one another from those perspectives as you would in an I-thou. An I-it is viewing the person or the type of communication or the receiver of the communication as something that can be an object that can be labeled, manipulated, changed, and maneuvered for somebody's own benefit. Something like a monologue is a good example of an I-it relationship where somebody continually speaks on their own topic in their own way, focused in their own perspective, and monologues and gives it a sense from that perspective rather than inviting and listening to others and bringing them in. So an I-thou relationship would consider the communication with all and a clear expression of everyone's ideas rather than just expressing your own and dominated conversation from that perspective. When you consider that, it's important to think about how that could apply to the topics in this course and how it could apply to how we're communicating and using the platform of oral interpretation performances to present our own ideas and analytical perspectives of communication text that we're analyzing and performing within an oral interpretation performance. It's important to kind of consider how that may weigh in. Linguistic relativity is also known as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, and this has evolved significantly throughout time. It considers that the structure of language affects its speakers, their worldview or cognition. Language also determines thought, and linguistic categories tend to limit and determine cognitive categories. Linguistic categories and usage can influence thought and decision, as well as language is typically the expression of thought in a spirit of topic. There's two primary concepts within linguistic relativity that we're going to focus on today. The first one is linguistic determinism. It focuses on language as a determinant of thought, and language is entirely determines a range of cognitive processes. This is something that is considering where language is directly related to thought, and cognition is directly related to language. Linguistic influence considers proposing that language provides constraints in some areas of cognition, but is not necessarily a determinant of cognition, meaning that we can speak without necessarily thinking. So when we think of linguistic relativity, we're looking at how often are we utilizing thought and how often is thought influencing what we're saying. Essentially, this idea and this theory really focuses on the idea that language and thought are organically and naturally intertwined with one another. So that's important to consider. These two theories, both Buber and linguistic relativity, help us look at more of language as a perspective of oral interpretation performances as a way of analyzing them and just as a whole, rather than looking at the text itself. So now we've gone beyond looking at what the communication text is and looking at the language utilized to express that communication text. Just to recap, we have chapter 6 we're reading through this week. We're watching some videos related to the course theories we're going through. You're completing weekly review number 6. That's due on Friday with reply posts due on Sundays, as well as oral interpretation project. Your performance is due on Friday with your reply posts due on Sunday. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, reach out early on in the week, and I pray you all have a blessed week.